Hi, my name is Petri and I'm fine. Welcome back to my channel. To honor the spooky season, I decided to do a list of 12 less known horror films for you to watch for Halloween. I tried to choose different kind of horror films, so there would be something new for all of you watching this. Some are good, some are weird, but all of them are worth experiencing. They are also in random order, so let's get started. First film on the list is Pin. A Canadian cult film tells the story of Leon and his sister Ursula. Their dad is a doctor who owns an anatomy doll called Pin. The dad uses the doll to teach the children medicine and talks through the doll often. As a child, Leon is quite the loner and thinks Pin as his only friend, often confiding in Pin. Later, when Leon and his sister are teenagers, his obsession of Pin starts taking over their lives. I personally find this film extremely unsettling, and watching it you will feel creeped out and uncomfortable. Pin is a masterful psychological coming-of-age horror story, and that's why you should experience it. Housebound. Next film on my list is a horror comedy film from New Zealand. In the film, our protagonist, Kylie, is forced to return to her childhood home after she's placed under house arrest. After a while, she starts suspecting that something sinister is lurking in the house. I'm gonna go into a lot of details on the plot, cause I think it's best experiencing as blind as possible. I have to say that I wasn't expecting much from this film before watching it, but I was positively surprised. I think the film nails the perfect balance of comedy and horror. It has some nice twists, good acting, and genuinely creepy moments. It's a perfect watch for Halloween night. The Fan. A German thriller horror film tells the story of a teenager Simone who's obsessed with a popular pop singer. After meeting her idol and finding out that he doesn't love her, she spirals into despair and her obsession reaches its shocking climax. The Fan is such a unique film that it's hard to describe. It's slow-paced and awkward most of its running time, but it's just a build-up for the shocking climax and it's stuck to my head ever since I first saw it. Give this film a try and you will be surprised. House. House, a Japanese cult film's plot, is one of the most simple ones on this list. A schoolgirl and her 6 classmates decide to go for her aunt's country house for their summer break. What they don't know is that the house is haunted. Sounds like a typical horror film? Well, it's truly something unique, not because of its plot premise, but how the story is told. The director Nobuhiko Opaishi fills the film with creative editing, some effects on the film are drawn directly on the screen, some characters have a constant wind machine on them, and the soundtrack of the film just slaps. The ending song of the film gets stuck to my head for days. On modern standards, House isn't really a scary film, and its comedic scenes shine over the intended scary scenes, but it doesn't matter. House is one of my all-time favorite films, and you should do yourself a favor and experience it as well. Opera, an Italian giallo film, has the main protagonist Betty, an opera singer, stalked by a deranged fan bent on killing the people associated with her to claim her for themselves. Directed by the master of giallo themselves, Dario Argento, and often considered his last masterpiece, Opera has the ingredients for the perfect horror film. A unknown killer lurking in the shadows, gruesome death scenes, over-the-top acting, and great soundtrack. What more can you want from a film like this? Even though some of the plot points might sound similar to The Fan, the film mentioned earlier in this video, the mood and the direction of the film is completely different. For this Halloween, spend the night at the opera. Blind Beast, the second Japanese film of the list, tells the story of a blind sculptor and his mother who kidnap a young model. As you can probably see by now, I enjoy films that deal with obsession and the lengths people are willing to go for them. Blind Beast is another hard one to describe. It's filled with dark humor, macabre psychodrama, balancing itself perfectly on the line of silliness and horror through its running length. Part horror and part art house film, Blind Beast is another example of a unique experience that I cannot recommend enough. Goodnight Mommy, Austrian horror film, is a story of 2 9-year-old twin boys, Lucas and Elias. When their mother returns home, bandaged after a cosmetic surgery, there's something unfamiliar to her. Under her bandages is someone they don't recognize. Is she truly their mother? I had a pleasure to experience this movie at the theater, and oh boy, was I on the edge of my seat the entire time. Literally. Goodnight Mommy is a tense and uncomfortable film to watch. It's filled with beautiful yet creepy cinematography. This film will get under your skin. See it for yourself, if you dare. Thesis, a Spanish horror thriller film, tells the story of Angela, who while doing thesis about violence, she finds a snuff film of girl being tortured to death. Soon after, she discovers that the girl was a former student in her faculty. The director Alejandro Amenabar did a great job viewing this story together. The film is thrilling from its opening minutes to the very end, filled with great cinematography and suspense. It's also an interesting look at people's fascination of death and violence. The film has stuck to my head even though I've only seen it once. Maybe I will watch it again for Halloween. Night Warning, also known as Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, tells the story of a Billy who, after losing his parents in a car accident, is adopted by his aunt. Later, when Billy is a teenager, his obsessive aunt is hell-bent on keeping him with her at all cost. This film is probably the worst on the list in terms of quality. It's very camp, strange and over the top, but there's just something about it that I can't stop thinking about. It's very 80s in the best sense. Give this film a go if you can appreciate the camp side of horror. Cam, the most recent film on the list, tells the story of Alice, who makes her living working as a cam girl. Then one day she discovers that she's been replaced on her show with an exact replica of herself. This film has gotten mixed reception, but I'm just gonna come out and say that I love it. I'm fascinated by films that deal with the horrors of modern technology, and Cam is a perfect example of that. The theme of losing your identity is what makes this film creepy, and I was personally surprised by the directions it went. Cam is available on Netflix, so give it a try. Visitor Q is probably the most hardest one to describe from the list, so I'm just gonna read you the description from Internet Movie Database. A troubled and perverted family find their lives intruded by a mysterious stranger who seems to help find a balance in their disturbing nature. Visitor Q is directed by Takashi Miike, whose work include masterpieces like Audition and Ichi the Killer, but I decided to include this film on the list cause I don't usually see it mentioned when talking about Miike's work. Like his other films, Visitor Q is a unique experience mixed with horror, comedy and drama. It's an uncomfortable tale of not so regular family. Angst, our last film on the list, comes from Austria. The film follows a psychopath who's released from prison, and after that he starts taking out his sadistic fantasies to a family living in a secluded house. Angst is one of the most disturbing films on the list because it features realistic violence, and the story of it is also something that could happen and has happened to some unfortunate people. Angst is in no means an entertaining film. It's disgusting, uncomfortable watch that will make you think about the horrible things happening in the world. But that's also what makes Angst the most effective film on this list and a true horror film. It's an experience. And that's it for my list. Are you planning on watching any of these for the Halloween? Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and I hope I see you in my next video. Bye for now.